Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta. We're honored to bring you inspiring individuals and organizations making a difference in our community and around the world. And today we're diving into the realm of education and mentorship. We're honored to have Tyler Ford, Senior Director of Mentors at tnAchieves. tnAchieves is an instrumental organization providing last dollar scholarships and vital mentorship for Tennessee high school students headed to higher education opportunities. Tyler and his team are passionately working to ensure every student has the opportunity to further their education and carve out a successful career. Join us as we delve into the world of tnAchieves and explore the incredible work they're doing. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. First, give listeners an idea, an overview of what tnAchieves is and your role in the organization.
Yeah, so tnAchieves is a nonprofit organization that partners with the state of Tennessee to administer the Tennessee Promise Scholarship in currently 74 counties across the state. So, what that really means is Tennessee Promise provides the chance for high school seniors to go to community or technical college, tuition and mandatory fee free. Our role at tnAchieves is to make sure students are doing the things they need to do to start college in the fall, to really leverage that scholarship. So there's certainly the component of making sure that students are fulfilling deadlines, fulfilling requirements, all the X's and O's really. But we really very much see our work at tnAchieves not just about access, about making sure students are starting college, but also making sure they're graduating and surrounding them with supports, not just in starting college, but also graduating. So that includes, a team of coaches, that includes our mentors, obviously. So really doing a lot of work on not just the starting college side, but the finishing college side as well. In terms of what my role looks like at tnAchieves, my responsibility, my role is really to make sure that our volunteer mentors each and every year are supported. They have the resources and the guidance they need to effectively support students in their community, but also to build those community partnerships and to foster those relationships to ensure we recruit the mentors necessary to serve students. So it's really two big pieces that keeps me pretty busy throughout the year.
Absolutely. And I love the mission of tnAchieves because for so many rural students or even first generation college students, they don't have the mentorship at home from their parents that have maybe gone through that process. So they're sort of blindly leading with, okay, what do I do? What are the steps that I need to take? What is a FAFSA even? What does that mean? What do I apply to? How do I apply? And so for tnAchieves to really integrate into that process and help them succeed, you're literally creating generational change for them by giving them the platform and the tools that they need to succeed. So it's really cool to see that it has grown from mentorship and now integrating with Tennessee Promise Scholarship to really create a robust opportunity for so many students across the Tennessee state. How crucial is the role of mentorship in the work that you do?
I mean, it's the heart of our work. We serve every year about 60,000 high school seniors. Our staff, we've grown quite a bit in the 5 years since I've joined the team, but we're still a staff of about 50. So that numbers game isn't in our favor, right? We can't personally impact all 60,000 students every year. But when you consider that we recruit 8,000 volunteer mentors, those mentors are working with a group of 8 to 10 students at the high school down the street where they can meet them for coffee. They might see them at the grocery store. And without the mentorship piece, we don't get those students, as many of those students, into the door of college and access to some of the additional supports we provide them. So when I think of our mentor program, there's 3 roles that we've always asked our volunteers to serve: be a task manager, be a resource, and be an encourager. I think the role they serve that is the most important, but it's also the most irreplaceable, is the encouragement piece, because as you touched on, many students are entering the college landscape without a ton of family perspective on college, without a ton of personal experience with college. So this is brand new to them. And to have that person from their community put their hand up, reach out to them and say, hey, I'm here to help you. I believe in you, and I want to make sure that this is a positive and successful journey for you. That's when mentorship has its greatest impact. And that's when we see for the students that they really build that confidence and that motivation to persist through what can be a challenging process, a confusing process. So, over the years, we've built new programs, we've built new components to support students. But for 15 years now, mentorship has been at the foundation of what we do. And that's very intentionally, because without community support, without the volunteer component, our program would look very different, and we just wouldn't be able to, personally impact nearly as many students as we do on an annual basis. So mentors are key. They really are.
They are. Well said. And talk about what the mentor recruitment process is like. What qualities do you look for in mentors? There may be people watching or listening now that say, I want to raise my hand. I want to be a Tennessee Achieves mentor. What are you looking for? What is the time commitment? Talk about that.
Yeah. So we ask our volunteers to give 1 hour per month. It's not a huge time commitment, because we understand that for many of our volunteers, this is, one of many, many things they're doing, whether it's work, family commitments, other volunteer activities. We try to keep the time commitment relatively low, because the need for mentors is also so high. In terms of qualities we're looking for, I think there's oftentimes a misconception when it comes to college mentoring or Tennessee Achieves mentoring, that you need to have a ton of college going perspective, recent college experience yourself. That just isn't true. Our team provides kind of the details that a volunteer needs to know. We'll get you a 50-page handbook with all the sorts of information on the FAFSA, college application, the nuts and bolts sort of information. We provide an hour-long training for our volunteers on the college process and on the mentorship experience. So all of kind of the details of going to college, our team can help with, and we can provide that information to you. What we really need in a volunteer is someone who does have that hour per month, is willing to attend one in-person meeting in December or January at the student's high school. And then I think really most importantly, it's just willing to invest time in students and willing to help students succeed. So talked about those 3 roles, right? Being a task manager, a resource, and an encourager. We need someone who's willing to remind a 17 or 18-year-old that they have a deadline to meet, which, can be challenging sometimes if we're being honest. But we need someone who's willing to answer student questions. And most importantly, I think we need someone who's willing to dig in and support students and just lift them up when they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed and a little bit confused on the process. So you don't need a ton of background on college. You don't need a ton of experience. You just need to have that willingness to care and that willingness to support. All volunteers, though, do need to be over the age of 21 and do undergo a background check and complete that training. So a little bit of a logistical piece there.
I was a Tennessee Achieves mentor probably around a decade ago. And I love that even back then, you made it very easy for us with a toolkit to be able to sort of answer any frequently asked questions from the students and really guide them through that process with deadlines and information on, FAFSA applications and applying to school and whatnot. And so y'all have made it very easy and efficient for those that want to raise their hand and get involved. Share maybe a story or two of transformational change that you've witnessed through Tennessee Achieves, either on the mentor or student side, that is really just showing the importance of Tennessee Achieves not only existing, but thriving for so many students.
Yeah, there's one story that comes to the mind right as you ask that question. This is a student out in East Tennessee, out in Knoxville, who was a first generation student. And he was nervous at his first day of classes. He just didn't know what to do. So he texted his mentor and he said, what do I do tomorrow to be successful, to have a good first day? And his mentor told him, get to class early, get to campus early, sit in the front of your classroom and get a good parking spot. So the student did those things. He got there early, got his parking spot, but he was lost on campus. He had his schedule. He's trying to find the building he needs to go to. He's trying to figure out where to go. And he had honed in on a line on his schedule that said MWF. So he's looking for building MWF, looking for it everywhere, can't find it. He didn't want to look out of place. He didn't want to look like he had a dumb question. So he didn't ask anyone on campus. He texted his mentor, though, a picture of his schedule and said, hey, where's building MWF? And his mentor quickly realized the student's mistake. He was looking at Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and pointed him to the right direction on the schedule where he could find the actual building that he needed to be at. He got him the advice he needed, got him to class that day. But it sounds like such a little story right off the bat, but there's always two things I think about with this story. One, for the mentor, it took like 10 seconds to answer that question. It was an easy fix. It was no problem at all. They could have been tied up with any number of things, but the mentor got the student the help and the student made it to class that day. But what I really, really love about this story is a 10-second text message from the mentor resulted in the student making it to class that day. And the fact of the matter is he could have just as easily gotten in his car and gone home and just left. But because he knew he had that support, because he knew he had that person, he felt confident to text and get the answer he needed. So he not only made it to class that day, but he graduated from Pell Sippy, and then he went on to get a bachelor's degree from UT Knoxville. So that moment from the mentor and that relationship they had established had a domino effect for the student. And I always love this story because it illustrates well not only the impact for the student, but for a mentor. It's rarely about like the nitty-gritty financial aid details and all that stuff. It's mostly just little nudges, little course corrections that make a huge difference for a vulnerable student in some cases.
I love that story. And it really is sometimes as simple as understanding what the codes are on the schedule and to really just dissect some of the things that for professionals or, the mentors, we know that answer right away. And for the students, like you said, he could have easily gotten to his car, gave up for the day and said, I can't do this. I'm overwhelmed. And so to be that person for them to provide feedback and to provide an answer and guide them and then move them on to ultimately even continuing their higher education journey is really phenomenal. How do you see that Tennessee Achieves has really worked to influence the education landscape in Tennessee? And then talk about how important Tennessee Promise is and how lucky as Tennesseans we are to have this opportunity that many, many, many other states do not have in our country.
I think that's the biggest thing, right? And Tennessee has led the way in sort of this tuition mandatory fee-free college initiative. And we've been doing it now for almost 15 years, right? Or certainly since Tennessee Promise was introduced statewide in 2015. I think the best form of compliment or the best, we've got other states that come to Tennessee, right, to sit with our education leaders, to sit with our team and learn how we've made this program work. And they're modeling programs in their states and in their communities to look like Tennessee Promise. And I think that when you look at data, when you look at the student success rates since the introduction of Tennessee Promise, we see that students using Tennessee Promise are 14% percentage points more likely to graduate than their peers who aren't in this program. They retain at a rate 14 percentage points higher, and they graduate at a rate 10 percentage points higher. So what you see is when you eliminate the financial barrier to students in college, they can focus on staying in classes, being successful, and it's less about like, how am I going to work enough hours this week to cover tuition next semester? They can focus on just being successful. So Tennessee Promise is without a doubt increased access for students, and they're not only able to access college at higher rates, but they're able to graduate at higher rates, which is the best thing you could look for in a program like this. When I look at Tennessee Achieves, I think our team is always willing to try new things in the interest of student success. So whether that's introducing a coaching model to help students through college and make sure that some of our most vulnerable students don't succumb to some of those common obstacles we see that result in them dropping out and never finishing their credential, whether that's introducing a grant program to provide additional direct financial assistance to students when they have hurdles that come up that might result in them having to drop out. You hear food insecurity is a real problem for students. Gas to get to and from campus can be a problem. So trying to address these things to, at the end of the day, just help students and positively influence student success across the state, which I think is really making a difference.
It really is making a difference. Like I said earlier, I mean, you're making generational differences
Mhm.
by providing this opportunity for someone in a rural Tennessee town to be able to go to a career technical or community college and be able to learn a trade or skill and then make, $60,000 in a field or more to be able to provide for their family and to create this ultimately generational wealth to be able to change the trajectory of their life with the training and opportunity at no cost for them. And
Mhm.
like you said, we have states across the country that are looking at Tennessee and saying, okay, how can we do this to eliminate the barriers for our students, to provide them opportunities and education and really move them forward. And it's just it's amazing to me to see how many people are able to take advantage of Tennessee Promise and work with Tennessee Achieves to provide this platform for the students. What puts a smile on your face when you look at the work that you've been able to do for half a decade with Tennessee Achieves and your work to really provide opportunities for thousands and thousands of students each year?
I love that question. I think that when I think of some of my favorite moments here at Tennessee Achieves, it's the moments when we go into a high school, right? We always do. Took a couple years off during the pandemic, but we've done in-person meetings at the high school where you gather our students, you gather the mentors, and you talk to them about college for an hour. And then there's time for the mentors and students to engage and connect. And I love going to those meetings because as someone who has done this work for a little while now, without fail, you get to the end of the meeting, you wrap up, and then a mentor comes up with a student by their side and they say, hey, this student has a question about going to Nashville State, or they've got a question about going to Southwest Jackson, wherever. We're able to get the student an answer to the question. And you can see oftentimes, like you can physically see a moment of relief when you tell that student, no, you really can go there and go there tuition and mandatory fee free, or no, we've got this to help you along the way. And you can kind of see a little bit of weight lifted off the student, and they've got a journey ahead to get there and to graduate. But it's a really powerful moment to see that, the supports we provide, but also, the supports that several of our partners are providing as well to support students, make a difference, and they help to alleviate some of that stress. And then you've got the mentor who hangs around for a few minutes after to learn more about that program so they can talk to more students about it. And what I think is most exciting for me is not only the moment with the student, but also knowing that with our volunteers and with our mentors, we're creating higher education advocates in that community. And even if, for example, the next year they can't continue mentoring and they've got another commitment that keeps them from volunteering, they're still going to know a little bit more about the college going landscape in Tennessee, to where if a student pops up with a question, if they think they can advocate for that student, they're likely to do it. And I love to see a mentor reach out 2 or 3 years after they've stopped volunteering and saying, hey, I was talking to a student I coach or a student I know, and I wanted to get them help with this. And to know that there's a lasting impact regardless of how long someone serves as a mentor is really, really exciting for me on the side of the mentor program specifically.
Well said. And it is really cool to be a part of Tennessee Achieves, even a decade later, knowing that you can make a difference with a generally like really small amount of commitment time, but knowing that you're making an impact on these lives is just outstanding, especially with the introduction since I've volunteered with Tennessee Achieves of Tennessee Promise, and how just the barriers, like you said, lifting off the weight lifted off of them to be able to know, yes, I can go to school tuition and mandatory fee free. Like that's fantastic. And just like, I can't imagine if I would have had that opportunity, what that feels like, but also how you're able to just excel and be a part of different organizations within the school and get involved and not worry about how I have to pay for that tuition. So it's fantastic. Where can people go to learn more about, say, if they're a student with Tennessee Achieves, or where can they go to learn more about their mentoring program?
Yeah, visit our website, tnAchieves.org. We've got a lot of great student information on there, but there's also an entire tab dedicated to mentoring. We've got a lot of great information and also testimonials from some of our volunteers on what it looks like to serve as a mentor, what the commitment looks like. And then we've got a registration form that takes probably 3 minutes or so to fill out. And If you're interested in serving, all you've got to do is fill that out, and then we'll get you all the details you need from there to begin serving students later this fall. So a lot of great information on our website.
Well, Tyler, thank you to you and your team at Tennessee Achieves for providing vital mentorship for Tennessee high school students to thrive in higher education opportunities. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.